What's up, heathens? How ya doing? I'm the Godless engineer, and I critically analyze apologists' claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today we're going to take a look at Dr. Brad Harrub providing evidence that God exists. Let's see what he's got.
Maybe look at the intricacy, the design in nature around you, and you're going to see there's proof for God.
That's not evidence for anything. In fact, just because we can perceive design in nature does not automatically mean somebody had to design it. We have natural processes that can explain to us why those things operate and look the way that they do. So therefore, we do not need a God to explain those things. Jesus fucking Christ. Well, if you want to see how wrong Dr. Brad Harrub is on whether or not God exists, then please stay tuned.
There's a lot of confusion, a lot of question right now about whether God exists. You got things like pandemics, viruses, hurricanes, wildfires, all these different things are planting seeds of doubt in the hearts and minds of many.
Oh, you mean that shit that's always happened in history? It's only just now with how bad shit is that people are starting to question God's existence? I mean, people have always doubted God's existence. I do agree that these bad things that happen either globally or locally can make somebody question whether or not God exists. I really think that it should make somebody question whether the Christian God exists. If this God is really omnibenevolent, then why would he allow more than 180,000 people in the United States alone die from this disease? And this is not the first time a major pandemic has hit the human race. This good God also let it happen back in 1917 and 1918. This omnibenevolent God also let it happen back in 1917 and 1918 with the Spanish flu. If this God does exist, then he is either sitting back and watching it happen while doing nothing, or he is the one that is actively causing it. Either way, he's not omnibenevolent by any reasonable standard. But if that God doesn't live up to the claims of the Bible, then does he even exist? These are reasonable questions to be asking in any situation, not just a global pandemic.
For just a few moments of your day, I want to simply answer one single question. Does God exist? You know, whether you're an atheist or whether you're someone who believes in God, there is one fact that we all agree on, and that is that matter exists today.
Okay. Shit exists. How does this get us closer to the idea that God exists? I mean, I guess that you're starting off on some common ground to build your argument that God does exist, so I should let you finish. Please continue.
This is a dinosaur bone dug out of the ground in the Harrub Creek Formation in Montana. We were there just a couple of short years ago, found this fossil. There is absolutely no denying that this exists. So the question then is, where did it come from?
Well, assuming that that fossil is in fact a dinosaur bone, my guess is that it came from a dinosaur that died in the area of the world that eventually became known as the Harrub Creek Formation. It was buried relatively quickly by Earth, and then sometime after that it began to fossilize. Then it just lay dormant there until you came by and dug it up. I feel like this is basic shit. Why would this even be a question at this point?
You know, if I were an atheist, if I were someone who did not believe in God, my only answer is it had to come from nothing.
What? That would not even register in my mind to be an answer for where do dinosaur fossils come from. I think what you're trying to suggest is that atheists put forth the position that this happened.
Smoke weed every day.
That is not the current scientific explanation for the beginning of the universe. Also, you seem to be trying to shift this conversation from where do dinosaur fossils come from to how did the universe begin to exist? And that is very disingenuous.
And yet, how scientific is that? To base your whole worldview, everything you believe in, that everything came from nothing.
Well, luckily, that's a straw man that nobody actually believes in. The only people that ever assert that are religious apologists. In fact, your belief about how this universe began to exist is closer to that idea than ours. Y'all think some magical wizard snapped his fingers and caused everything to come into existence as it exists today from literally nothing. While in science, this nothing is still something.
No, a better answer is that matter exists today, which means that something has existed forever. It's eternal, that gave rise to all of these things.
Okay, why can't that just be reality? What specifically differentiates your God from the fabric of reality? I don't think that you can separate your God from just reality itself. If you're unable to distinguish between the two, then it seems like this God is just the fabric of reality itself. That means that the universe could have been created by the very nature of reality as a result of a natural process.
Now, if something is eternal, that means it violates scientific laws. So think about that for just a moment. You know, science says everything is wearing out, it's running down, and yet there's this eternal thing that gave rise to all this matter that is actually outside the observable laws of naturalistic science. It's eternal. And so if you're looking or questioning, looking for proof, questioning whether God exists, let me encourage you, stop. Take a little time, walk outside, maybe come across something like this.
Well, first off, scientific laws are descriptive in nature. They do not prescribe functionality to reality. So if our scientific laws violate reality in some way, then our laws will change to more accurately represent reality. Also, you seem to be talking about the laws of thermodynamics. It's true that our universe is constantly running toward its own heat death. This particular fact does not inherently mean that God exists. We don't know if we're the only universe or if another universe won't pop up in our place. So this explanation has literally no bearing on whether or not God exists. Also, I kind of feel like that last part was a look at the trees type of argument, and you're about to build an argument from design.
Maybe look at the intricacy, the design in nature around you. And you're going to see there's proof for God.
Oh, fuck me, I was right. Nature only appears to be designed to us because our brains are pattern seeking. Our minds seek patterns where there are none in an attempt to make sense of it. Your ability to detect patterns where there are none does not prove that God exists. Another fatal flaw in the argument from design is that we have natural explanations to explain why and how this world functions and looks the way that it does. If we have a natural explanation for something, then we definitely do not need a supernatural explanation.
Paul put it this way in Romans chapter 1, verse 20. He said, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen." Who's the his in that statement? That would be God. God's invisible attributes have been clearly seen. He says, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
If they are invisible, then they can't be fucking seen, dipshit! This is also an ad hoc explanation for things we can't visually detect. There is no evidence that these invisible attributes are actually the Christian God's attributes, other than some asshole schizotypal in the first century claimed that they are.
He's basically saying here, if you want proof of God, go look around. And oh, by the way, you don't have an excuse not to believe in God.
Everything that we thought God was responsible for in the past has been eventually explained with a natural process that removes the need for a God as an explanation. When Benjamin Franklin invented the lightning rod, people thought that he was intervening in God's will. Why? Because lightning killed bell ringers for churches. If a bell ringer was killed by lightning, then they thought that God wanted him dead. There was religious opposition to lightning rods. Let that sink in. This is a clear example of God no longer being needed to explain some natural phenomena. Once we understood what lightning was and how it worked, we no longer needed a supernatural explanation for it. And we do have an excuse not to believe in God. The excuse is the piss-poor arguments and evidence that you guys regularly present to defend the existence of your God. It's not my fault that this evidence doesn't convince me. I don't control what convinces me. Saying there's no excuse is just fucking ridiculous.
Here's what Solomon said. In Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13, he said, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter." He's saying, let me sum it up for you. He said, "Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is man's all." This is the whole duty of man. If you're out there questioning, if you're out there wondering, let me encourage you, stick to Solomon's advice. Fear God and keep his commandments. I hope you'll think on these things. Thanks.
Oh, how loving is that? Fear me and do what I say, or else I will fuck you up beyond recognition. Does this not cause you to question shit yourself? You know, the idea that your religion is based on fearing this all-loving creator God. If you have to fear him, he's definitely not omnibenevolent or loving. He's a fucking asshole. In this video, Dr. Brad Harrub presented no evidence that would support the idea that God definitely exists. All he's managed to do is spew common apologist talking points while at the same time exposing that his religion is based on fear. Fear of what God will do to you if you don't go face down, ass up for him. Also, don't forget, God loves it when shit's bedazzled. If that is what your religion is based on, then maybe you should start reconsidering your religion. Thank you, heathens, for joining me today for a look at Dr. Brad Harrub's video. If you will, please leave a comment down below. Let me know if any of his talking points convinced you or if you found them to just be repetitive arguments from design. Let me know down below. Hey, while you're down there, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like this kind of video. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.